Hi, I'm Kelly,
I'm Allison.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Kristen.
and this is Fear and Wine. Hello, welcome to Fear and Wine. We are a podcast about horror TV shows, movies, and more. And we are continuing our journey with season 2 of Them, which is called The Scare. Before we get started, did everybody, well, I know Kristen and I watched it, but did anyone else watch the new Monsters Ed Gein story? I think that's like the new
No.
horror thing
I
on
did
Netflix.
not
People are
watch
watching.
that.
No.
Nope. But
Are you
I've
guys
heard a
planning
lot
to
about
watch
it.
It's so
Probably
good. I thought it was
not.
so good.
It was really good.
Did it go off the
Hill-
rails at the end like Ryan Murphy stuff typically seems to do?
A little, yeah.
Okay.
But just in the last episode.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was at least one musical montage, but prior to
Oh.
that, what I really enjoyed is, and I like this a lot about his series, is he does a really good job of intertwining fiction and fact. And so things would come up and I'd be like, that can't be true. And then I'd Google it and by God, it was true. So certain things, I felt like and then I could see the things that he definitely changed and added, but I learned way more about Ed Gein than I ever knew
Me
before by
too.
watching the series.
Yeah, and I really like how it was done. If you guys, I mean, I don't know, I recommend watching it. It really wasn't scary, but it was just really interesting how he wove in all the movies that were inspired by him
Mhm.
into telling the story. It's
Yeah,
actually
because
really
he
cool
was
how they
really
did
like
that.
one of the very first serial killers that we were aware of, right?
Like famous ones like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you had
Yeah.
your like Jack the Ripper, AJ Holmes, when it became like
Yeah,
pop
sure.
culture famous, I think he was probably
I
I
think
would
that was the
think, right?
point. Yeah, that they showed in the series how we changed as a society. And that people wanted to come and see the artifacts and look at the house. And so there's a much
Yeah.
larger point being made by Ryan Murphy in the series, way beyond Ed Gein. It's way more a point about us and what we consume and how we've glorified horror, which, this podcast being so focused on that genre, he's talking about us basically.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
hmm
Well, I mean, I saw like just something that come across my feed the other day, and there was a girl taking pictures at like, one of those death museums or something along those lines. And it was just, like photos of victims on the wall, and she's smiling in front of it. And I'm just like, this feels wrong.
Really? Now that's a
Yeah.
little weird.
I get the morbid curiosity. I get going. I don't know that I love like taking pictures smiling in front of crime scenes of dead people. Like, I don't know. Do your thing. It doesn't bother me, but like, it feels a little weird.
It does feel weird if it's like suddenly like a family vacation Instagram post. Like I don't know how we need to tie those two things together,
Right.
but I get it. Like of course we have the morbid curiosity. I don't know if you'll
Sure.
see us doing like thumbs up and peace signs like, along with next to dead bodies, but I
No, no,
guess
no.
that's somebody's thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think
And
everybody has a little bit of that morbid curiosity in them, but it's just some people are more overt about it, I guess. I don't know.
makes me think of Red Rooms when she, broke into that house at the end and took that peace sign, smiley picture, kind of recreating
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
the girl who died and her.
Mhm.
That was just, to me, that scene particularly, it will live in my head forever. It's one of those things I don't think I'll ever be able to forget. And it reminds me of
Mm.
this as well for that same reason. So yeah.
Mhm.
Oh well.
But I recommend it. And I did start the Peacock has a John Wayne Gacy one that came out on the 16th.
Yeah, I've been
That I
watching
just
that.
want to watch, yeah.
That one I
I've been
started.
watching that.
It's actually pretty good. At first, the first episode, I was like, "Oh, they're only starting 10 days back," but go through it. It does cover everything. I thought it was just going to cover his trial, and I was like, "Oh, I wanted to see more," but it
Oh
does.
yeah,
It actually
no.
takes a lot of the victims and tells their personal story. It's really good how they
Oh,
did it.
wow.
Actually,
Okay.
yeah,
Each
it
episode
humanizes
focuses
all
on
of the
yeah.
victims.
It focuses on like one or two victims and then does the backstory. So you kind of get each episode, you get more of the boys' backstory. And then at the end of the episodes, they show the real footage of the things that were portrayed in the series. So it's quite good,
Mhm.
actually. I think so. The
It's
guy
really
who's
good. Yeah.
playing John Wayne
Yeah.
Gacy is terrifying, just as a ugh.
Yeah, he's the brother from Orange Is the New Black. He was the girl who went to prison's
Whoa.
brother. Yeah.
Oh, I
That's
don't
why I
know
remember. I
if
was
I
like, why do I
remember.
know this guy? But he was like cute and funny in that show. So
Oh no, he
yeah,
gets
but I
creepier
think
and
that I'm pretty sure
creepier.
it's the same guy.
Hmm I was very
Yeah.
disturbed. There's some scenes, and they aren't like grossly violent, but there's some scenes with him with these young boys that it made my skin crawl, and
Yeah.
I haven't been able to, like, binge it. I've had to kinda space it out because it doesn't make me feel good afterwards, so, yeah.
Yeah, there's some that I just like I kinda had to think about it because it's these kids and some of them needed money, so maybe they were kinda like letting this gross old man get away with stuff to like hanging out with them and just putting up with stuff because
Mhm.
they needed money, but then there's also some moments where I'm just like, this is kind of like these young guys are experiencing what women feel like, where you get to that point
Yeah.
where you know you're uncomfortable, but all of a sudden it's like, well, but do I still need to be polite? Like, when can I
Mm.
get up and leave?
Yeah,
And I just felt that from some of them as they're sitting
I
around with
did
them. It's like,
too.
I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like
Yeah.
they know that they should leave, but they don't want to be rude. Like that
And he
moment
was
happens.
grooming, you see him grooming these kids, and it's just, ugh, just there's
Yeah.
yeah, and there's no moments of levity in this series. Like, in Monster, I
No.
think by switching back and forth to the more kinda updated things, there were moments of levity where you didn't feel everything was so heavy, but the John Wayne Gacy one is just really heavy, I feel like, so,
Yeah.
my warning.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
typically you don't see as much about the victims you hear. It's mostly always focused on, the bad parts, the killer, his side, his perspective, his side of it. And I say his because 9 times out of 10 it's a man doing all this
Mhm.
horrible stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that's something new that they've started doing, which I think is a good thing, that they're focusing more on the victims and their stories and, stuff about them so that you don't think of them as just this abstract person, and like
Making
that's
them
all you know
famous
about
instead of
them
that
is that they
shitty
were
human. Yeah,
right, right.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah,
I really liked how they did that.
Yeah.
yeah.
But anyway, so I just wanted to check in on those 2 shows because they're I think 2 of the big ones going around now and, as far as TV shows in this genre. But to continue with them, we're gonna cover episode 3 called "The Man with the Red Hair." And in this episode features a horrible date, like, just maybe the worst date I think that could ever have happened. So our question for today was, share your worst date story or the strangest way a guy has hit on you.
Oh, man. It's funny that this episode is titled that because the first bad date that came to my mind was with a
Mhm.
guy that had red hair for me.
Oh,
No
really?
way.
Yeah.
Then you should go
'Cause
first then, go ahead, because it's a good
I
segue.
mean, I haven't been on, like, a ton of dates, not at least not, like, formal, proper dates, but, in college, there was a local bar that a lot of people used to go to. I used to know a lot of the people who would hang out there, and there was this one guy who came in, and I didn't recognize him. Nobody really knew who he was. I think maybe he was new to the area. He was really good looking. He had, like, a reddish auburn hair. He was muscular. Turned out he was from Alabama, and he played football in Alabama. So, he was cute. I could not understand a word that he said. His accent was so strong. I would have to ask him, "Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say to me?"
Like a strong
So
Alabama accent?
yes, a very thick, strong Southern Alabama accent. But he was cute, so who cares? Who needs to hear what he has to say, right? Well, he took me to the movies one night, and I don't even remember what it was that we saw. But then afterwards, we were in his truck, and he was just so aggressively, like, handsy. It was so creepy, and it kinda reminds me of what you just said about the boys with John Wayne Gacy. I felt kinda like, well, he took me out on this date, so I kinda maybe need to
Mhm.
stay here and stick it out, but, like, it was just too much. I couldn't. It creeped me out, it gave me the ick. He came on way too strong, and yeah, it ended kinda there because I was, like, not I was very uncomfortable. Like, no
Yep.
matter how cute and muscular he was, it was not
Worth it.
enough. It was not worth it, yeah, to put up with the ick it gave me. So, that
You
was
have
one
good
of the
survival instincts,
grosser
that's
ones.
good.
Yeah.
Do
So
I?
what did
Yeah.
you do? I always wonder, do you just get up and leave and walk out, or
Um
do you politely say, "I gotta go"? Like,
I
what
mean, I
is
probably
the
let him kiss me for a while.
Oh, okay.
And then, like, I think I eventually was just like, "Yep, gotta go." I mean, it's been so long now, I really don't
Yeah.
remember how it ended, but I just remember being really grossed out and feeling like just, icked out because it it was like, "Dude, you just took me to a movie, like, what do you think I owe you now?" You know?
Yeah.
So, eh, never talk to that guy anymore after that.
Yes. Well, I mine's kinda short, so I'll share mine real quick. So, the date itself was not bad, and it was actually, I think, our 2nd or 3rd, I wanna say 3rd, but, the date was fine. He was, a lot of fun. we liked each other, but on that date, I discovered he was actually still married and
Oh.
not and not, like, separated, like, full
Oh,
on married, and I think maybe expecting a baby or something
Oh,
like that.
no.
I don't
Jesus.
know, but that's where that was because like, their lies start to unravel, and then you just, like,
Mhm.
Oh,
pick
we
up little
know.
things like, "Oh, okay, so you're
Mhm.
not actually, like, separated for this long or going through a divorce," whatever the story
Mhm.
was. Yeah.
How did you
So
meet
I
him?
found out through
Oh,
friends.
okay.
Yeah.
And none of
Well,
them
what
knew? Or
I think they might have if they knew they'd I don't know. Either he had also spun the story of he and his wife were separated,
Oh,
like,
okay.
I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't
Okay.
know. He wasn't
Yeah.
anybody's, like, BFF. It was just kinda
Oh,
like
okay, just kinda like
that
acquaintances with
sort
acquaintances
yeah,
and okay.
that sort of friend thing.
Do you
But
remember what it was that, like, tipped you off? Like, what he said
I
that
don't
made you
I'm not
like, made the
quite
light bulb go
sure.
off?
I think he might have said something like "my wife" or something. He might have said
Oh,
Oh,
something.
damn.
Hmm.
Mm.
oh,
I don't
Yeah.
know, and then I
Dry
just started
snitching.
asking more questions, and
mhm.
it just became like, "Well, kinda, we're working through things, well, it's kinda," and then the
That's
kindas just kept
awkward.
growing,
Mhm.
so but of course, you know me, I didn't get up and leave, I, of course, finished the date. I mean, the food was coming, we had already ordered, so
You gotta
just
eat.
I wasn't just gonna leave food, but that was just we
Right.
just ended it there, so,
That's the
Aw.
best.
yeah.
I'm sorry that happened to you though, because I feel like, probably all I mean, I have a story like that too, but that's not the one I'm gonna tell because
Mhm.
Okay.
you know,
I feel like
it's
that's happened
cliche.
to, honestly, a lot of people. I
I
know
was gonna say the
my
Mhm.
same,
mom's even
yeah.
told a story of that. She's like, "Oh, yeah," or because men just have no shame, but she discovered on a date
No.
once that some
Mhm.
the guy was married. So,
Wow.
Damn. Well, I'll go next then.
okay.
So mine is I made the horrible mistake of doing the app dating after I got divorced. Whew, you meet some doozies on there, let me tell you what. And I had met this guy. I mean, he was older than me, so it was an appropriate age and all of that. And so we had met once for a drink and had good conversation. So we planned a date. And we were going to see the Impractical Jokers at the Tampa Theater in downtown Tampa. And so we met up at his place first, and then he drove from there, and we went to a bar first. And while we were at this bar, he recognized like a group of people he knew. And so he basically turned to these people and proceeded to talk to them for the next hour and didn't even introduce me. Like I was basically sitting there alone. I was so pissed. I can't even tell you like the seething anger that was inside of me. But I still wanted to see the Jokers, of course. But I ended up drinking like 3 martinis or something at this bar because I was angry and I hadn't eaten. And so I got blackout drunk,
Oh,
wasted.
no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we had gone to sit at the seats, and I knew I wasn't gonna do really well, so I went to the bathroom, and while I was in the bathroom, apparently I passed out sitting on the toilet, and so
Oh.
I woke up to, like,
You
loud
went hard on
voices.
that date.
So this is all really it makes me look bad, not really him. So, he was bad in the beginning, but I made it
Yeah.
worse. And so I passed out, and he thought that I stood him like left. And so when the show ended, he left, and so
Mhm.
I had no ride. And I called him, and
Oh,
he's like,
no.
"I thought you left, so I'm gone." And I don't blame him for being annoyed. I would have been
You
annoyed
passed
too.
out for the
So
whole show?
the whole
Oh
show, the
man.
entire show. It
Oh,
wasn't until people
no.
were
Oh,
leaving
no.
and coming into the bathroom that it woke me up. So
Oh, man.
yeah, so I had to get an Uber to his house, and then he came out and, like, basically threw my purse at me, so or whatever, my keys I
Oh.
think I had left there or something, and then, yeah, I went home,
Oh,
shamed.
Oh,
man.
I was
no.
sober by that point, though, I'd slept it off, so
Yeah.
I hope the Jokers hear this and they invite you to a show.
That's
I
actually
never
a
did
great
see them
story.
live, so yeah, never did.
Wow, that's oh, man, but that
Yeah,
sucks
if
of
you're
him to be
listening
like that in the beginning, though. That's rude,
well,
you
he was
know?
a
Yeah.
he was a total dick, and I
Yeah.
didn't plan on ever having a date with him again, so that him being pissed at the end didn't
Mm,
really upset me because it was almost like I got even, so
right,
Oh,
right.
yeah,
that's
let me
always
get my
cool with
money's
me.
worth in drinks because you were the worst. Yeah, I got it. Totally get it.
At least get something out of it.
Mhm.
So anyway, it makes me look bad, absolutely, but I still think it's a funny story.
It is funny. That
I
was
feel like
great.
you've got
Yeah.
some other doozies that I would love to hear you tell us sometime.
Girl, I have back when I used to drink, yeah, there were another Kristen came out, so
Oh, man.
mhm.
Too funny. Allison, do you have one?
I don't really have any bad date stories, but my boyfriend tells me all the time that I'm very naive to people hitting on me. I don't realize when it's happening. In fact,
I could see
because
that, yeah.
Mhm.
we knew each other a long time before we started dating. He's like, even I was hitting on you at one point, and you just didn't even realize it. I was like, oh, because I think in my head, I just think everyone just needs someone to talk to. So I start being nice back to them, like, oh yeah.
Mhm.
So they then automatically think I'm flirting with them, and I have no intentions of anything.
Mhm.
But I know one time at work, there was a group of us talking about the Dolly Museum. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I really wanna go." And one guy was like, "Oh, we should go. That would be great, but you're gonna have to drive because I just got in a car accident." I just looked around and I said, "Oh, like, together?" I was just saying that and everybody
You're like
and, like, everyone else felt kinda awkward too, and I was like, "Well, does anybody else wanna go?" I didn't
like you're
I
making it a
Yeah.
wasn't
group.
making this yeah. I didn't all of a sudden know that I had to pick him up to take I was just talking about going to the Dolly Museum.
You're like, "So
Yeah.
anyway, I picked him up."
No, I never brought it up again. The words Dolly never came out. I was like, "No,
Right.
that's n
You could have been like,
no,
"I don't
thank
date
you."
guys who don't have cars, so it's
Yeah.
fine." Anyway.
I don't want no
I
scrubs.
Yeah, I would have been like you. I wouldn't have
Mhm.
thought that was asking out on a date, or I'd have to be, "Is this a date, or do you just need a ride to the Dolly Museum? Because I can call you an
Right.
Uber, and I don't have to get up."
That's why I
Like, I
looked at
don't
everybody else like, "Anybody else, I guess, wanna go? Because now this is
Mhm.
I never
officially
would have thought that
plans
was
that I have
being
to"
asked out.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
like that just in general sometimes too. If people are like, if they drop like a general hint about like, "Oh yeah, come if you want" type of thing, I'm doing something like to me, that's almost like telling me you don't want me there. Like in my brain's like, "Oh, well, they said like if I want to." So they probably don't really want me there. Like I need you to be like, "I would like for you to come here with me," or like I
Yes.
need it to be a little more straightforward, or my brain's kind of like, "Oh, I think they're just saying that to be nice," you know? So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
need a little more straightforwardness.
I'm the same way. I'm not gonna get hints or little flirtations. You have to actually
Mm-mm.
spell out what
Mhm.
you want from me or want me to do, because I'm just it's not that I'm not observant, I just don't I don't pick up on those nuances. I really
Mhm.
don't, or
No,
those
right.
little,
Oh
like,
my
signals from
gosh.
people.
I
I think
wish.
it's
I
part of
feel
my
like I pick
little
up on
social
yeah.
awkwardness.
I pick up on every microaggression and body language, I think way more than is normal, so that's probably good.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I don't pick up on body language at
No,
all.
I
That's
don't at all.
yeah.
Yeah, because the other guys that were listening had to be like, he was asking you." I was like, "How would I know that?
Yeah.
Why would that
You're
be a
like,
thing?"
"Aw,
Yeah. So, well, those are good ones. All right. Should
Yeah.
we get started with this and hear about this awful date that happens in this
yes,
episode?
please."
Okay.
Yes.
This episode's wine pairing is Blackboard Red Wine by Matthews. This Columbia Valley red blend has a powerful nose of black cherry, plums, baking spice, and blueberry, and flavors of dark chocolate, pears, and raspberry. Blackboard is made of 63% Cabernet Sauvignon, 34% Merlot, and 3% Petit Verdot. Pair this wine with beef, lamb, and hard cheeses. Enjoy! For more information about us and all of the wines that we feature, visit our website at fearandwine.com. And make sure you follow Fear and Wine wherever you listen to podcasts so that you don't miss a new episode. And if you like us, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. Thanks! Episode 3 of Them begins with Dawn, our heroine, our leading lady, and she arrives at the LAPD precinct for work, and she's going to pull into her parking spot, and there's a fellow police officer, a man, sitting in the squad car blocking her spot. So he's parked like across, like just right in front of her spot, and he knows it. And so she asks him politely to move because that's her spot, and he tells her, go park somewhere else. He doesn't make eye contact with her, and he's pretending to like mess around with his radio. And she goes, "Excuse me?" But she gives him a look like, "I know this bitch didn't just do
Mm.
this." Yeah. Because by the way, she outranks him. This is like a beat cop. He's just sitting in his car
Oh.
getting ready to go, and she's a detective. And she's still being polite about it. But she gets out of her car and goes to his window, and she just says, "Can you please move?" And he just won't look at her. And then finally, knowing that she outranks him, he does back down, but he just mumbles "black bitch" and then drives away.
Mhm.
And so she asks him, "What did you call me?" But he's now taken off. So it was just his little, I don't know. I guess he felt like he got something done in that, his little way of having his aggression out on her. So Dawn goes into her office and she gets the LA Weekly paper and sees the cover story that's called "Protect and Serve, the LAPD Turns Another Blind Eye to a Serial Killer." So that story that she called in is now out and it has hit the papers. She's sitting at her desk and she starts to work, and she looks around the room and sees McKinney and some of the other white male detectives doing that thing where they keep looking at her, like side eye looking at her, but then trying to act like they aren't looking at her, so look even more suspicious when people do that.
Mhm.
Versus if you were to just like stare openly at someone, it's not nearly as weird than just those little looks.
Right. It's like
She
you're
o-
almost trying to get them to ask, "What are you looking at?"
right,
or something.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And she opens a case file on her desk and she sees a photo of a naked murder victim, but someone has pasted a picture of her face on top of that victim's face as some
Oh.
sort of prank. And then in another photo, her last name is on the toe tag in the morgue. So there's playing these pranks on her. And she gets up and takes the photo to the front of the room where they have those big bulletin boards and loudly tacks it on there. And then she looks around the room, staring all these men down, waiting to see who has a reaction to find out who did this. Just then, her lieutenant calls her into his office to talk to her about the article about that serial killer in the Black community. He's confronting her because he knows that it had to have been her that leaked it to the press, and he's pissed. But, however, in an interesting turn of events that Dawn did not see coming, rather than taking Dawn off of that serial killer case, the lieutenant decides to remove McKinney from the case and tells Dawn, "It's all yours now, you're on your own." We then cut to the neighborhood toy store where Dawn's mom, Athena, works. And Athena opens a box of merchandise that they got in, and it's a box of those smaller size Raggedy Andy dolls, just like the one that Edmund had in episode 1. Athena takes out one of the dolls and she stares at it, and it seems like she's a bit unnerved by it. And we're not sure why yet, because the doll in itself isn't creepy looking. It's just a doll. But there's clearly some sort of trauma that Athena has associated with this doll. So much so that she takes the entire case of Raggedy Andy dolls and throws them away in the dumpster behind the store. So at this point, I assumed, was this some sort of prank? Because why would you throw away inventory that you know you ordered? Or because it's just
Right.
her and the owner of the store, the only people that work there. So I
Yeah.
would think she would know what they got in, and you don't just throw away inventory. Even if you don't like it, you still pay for it. So,
Right.
so that's what I was thinking. We go back over to Dawn at work, and she approaches Junior Detective Diaz while he's eating his lunch and tells him that she and McKinney aren't seeing eye to eye on the case and she will need a new partner. She said that she told the lieutenant she wants to work with him, and Diaz is thrilled. He's excited to work on the case with Dawn, and Dawn asks him if she were to tell him that she was the one who leaked that article to the press about the killer, would that be a problem? And Diaz says, no, not at all. A leak to the press is how they were able to finally nab Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. He says he was a beat cop during that time, and he understands why she would do it because they're from the same neighborhood. Dawn and Diaz start to go through the photos, and she gets them caught up on the details of the case, and they talk about how this serial killer has yet to make a mistake. He hasn't left any hairs or fibers, fingerprints, nothing. And Diaz thinks that the killer knows his victims personally because of the lengths that they have gone to humiliate them. And Dawn suggests that this is possible, or the victim could be a surrogate for people who had hurt him in life, like Ted Bundy and some of his victims who look similar to the woman who broke his heart. Dawn thinks that this killer was in the foster care system and may have even lived at Bernice Mott's house at some point. Dawn thinks that this guy wants attention and wants to be seen and understood, and she believes that he may reach out to the police very soon. We now cut over to Edmund, and he is getting ready for his date with the girl from the casting office, and her name's Rhonda. She arrives at his apartment with a bottle of wine, and the two of them have a nice little intimate dinner there. And during dinner, Edmund tells her that he quit his job because he has to set his sights higher, totally leaving out the part where he walked through the workplace in a costume carrying a large knife, scaring the crap out of people, and more likely he got fired than quit, but,
Yeah.
that's how he spins it. She commends him for chasing his dreams, and he asks her about her job, and she talks about how much she loves it and how much she loves her coworkers and how they're all friends and they go out together on Friday night sometimes. And then she mentions the crew is Courtney, Stella, and Donovan, and she talks about how funny Donovan is, and we see a little hint of maybe jealousy from Edmund at the mention of Donovan's name. And so Donovan is that guy, is the camera guy. He's the other black guy in the office.
When he was laughing at him at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, and the
Oh,
casting
when
assistant.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Edmund then excuses himself to go to the restroom, and while he's gone, Rhonda gets up and she starts walking around his living room, and she's looking at his books on the shelf and his VHS tapes, and just, as you do, kind of see what the person you're interested in is interested in. So she's looking around, and when she turns around, she sees Edmund standing behind her, and he has pantyhose over his face to distort his
Oh,
features.
Yes.
He has no shirt on anymore, just a pair of jeans, and he's holding a machete. I don't even
oh
know
my
where he
god.
got a machete. And he's just standing there silently, but kind of looking down so that they're not making eye contact. And Rhonda is clearly either in shock or she must really like this guy because instead of like screaming and trying to run, she just says, "Edmund, what are you doing?" And he slowly starts to walk towards her, and she stays still and just says, "Edmund, that's not funny. Stop." And Edmund whispers, "I can't." And then he lifts the machete up to her neck while breathing
Uh,
heavily and creepily. And Rhonda is now shaken and frozen in fear. She's starting to cry and begs him to stop. And she says, "Remember, I have a son." And then Edmund's like, "I can't get this image of you out of my head. You in pieces."
Ew.
Yeah. So she
Mm.
starts pleading for her life. And then we suddenly see Edmund stand straight up. And it's like he mentally called scene in his head. And then he changes. He's back to old Edmund. He snaps out of this killer character that he was playing. He takes off the pantyhose from his head. And he's back to the old guy. He's super excited with himself about how convincing he was just in that role. And he tells her that she did such a great job improvising her fear.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure she was
Yeah.
improvising.
Yeah. So she looks at him and she goes, "I gotta go." And then she just runs out of there.
That's why you should meet in a public place for your
Yeah.
first
yeah,
Well,
date.
she
the first
did.
date.
She did. She was
Well,
at his
Well,
she
work and thought that he was a nice guy who liked
yeah.
kids,
that's
but
true.
They had
she
known each
doesn't
other
know now.
for months probably. He was doing auditions
Yeah.
there so that they got to know each other. And then she went to his work.
Mm.
Yeah, you're right.
That's
Mhm.
true.
We go over to the LAPD office again, and Dawn is there by herself working late at night. And she gets a phone call, and the caller asks if she is one of the detectives working on the case that was mentioned in the LA Weekly. The caller tells her that he needs to meet with her tomorrow because he has information. He doesn't give his name, but he gives her a time and address to meet. He says there have been 2 more murders, and then he hangs up. So the next day, Dawn arrives at this address to meet the caller. They meet at this Korean-owned black hair care beauty supply place. The family that owns it is the one who had the murders. We meet a guy named Victor, and he's telling Dawn about how his 2 sisters were murdered. And he says that he and his family live above the shop. His sisters live there too, but now they're dead. And he makes Dawn promise that she and the police won't continue to hassle his parents because they're good people and he just wants the killer found. The police have stopped caring and won't do anything. Victor's parents then come downstairs and they're surprised to see a detective there. Even though Victor tries to explain to them that he called her here, Victor's dad demands that Dawn leave. So it seems like what happened was when they were talking to the police, I think the police kept trying to blame the family or someone in the family
Mhm.
and focusing more on that than actually trying to catch someone. Victor is eventually able to convince his dad that Dawn is different from the other cops and she may be able to actually help them. Victor takes Dawn upstairs and shows her his sister's room and tells her that nothing has been touched since the day they died. So Dawn notices that the girls have 2 mirrors in their room and they are both covered with blankets. Dawn asks Victor if this is something that they've always done, and he tells her no, they just started doing this a few days before they died. She takes the blanket off of one of the mirrors and sees a big red X drawn in lipstick. And she quickly has a flashback to McKinney uncovering the mirror in that man's house with the baby, that episode that
Mhm.
Kristen
Yep.
covered.
Yep.
So the covering of the mirrors is a thing that's happening with these murders. Dawn notices that the girls have twin beds and they've been pushed together. And she asks Victor about it. And he says they just started sleeping like that days before they died because they were too scared to sleep apart. Dawn
Aw.
then has a flashback of talking to that little girl at the orphanage who told her that Bernice Mott had become so scared of a man a few days before she died that she couldn't sleep. And Dawn notices that the girls also have a video camera, a tripod in their room. And Victor says that one of them wanted to be in the movies and they were always filming little dances and stuff. So, like early TikTok, but no place to
Mhm.
put it. They were just doing little
Yeah.
videos.
Yep.
But the camera is missing. Victor doesn't know where the camera is. And then we see above the girl's bed is a Paula Abdul poster and it's covering an air vent. So Dawn gets up on the bed and she opens the air vent and she finds the girl's video camera up there and a tape up there.
Oh,
So, yeah.
smart lady to think to
Mhm.
look there.
So they watch the tape, and it's of the 2 girls dancing and having fun and listening to music. And then there's a cut in the tape in the video, and we see that one of the sisters is recording the other one as she stands in front of the mirror just staring and not moving. Victor says they started acting really strange suddenly. He tells Dawn that the girls said that they had been followed home one afternoon, but they couldn't describe the person that had followed them. So Victor just kind of brushed it off and he thought they were just being dramatic teenage girls. The video cuts again, and we see the 2 girls are in their room, nervous, like something is coming for them. And the girls ask, "Do you see him?" And they're looking out the window. And one of the girls says, "See, it's him, right down there by the street lamp." We see the video camera looking down at the street lamp. We can't see anything. We're just seeing a street, an empty street, and a lamp. There's nobody down there.
Mhm.
But the girls keep saying that they see someone, and they describe him as the man with the red hair.
Ooh, it's
Mhm.
Carrot Top, and he's down there with his
Right.
props.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. Victor tells Dawn he found the girls the next morning after this recording. So there's a quick flash to the shop downstairs, and then we hear a screaming and that loud cracking of bone sound, and then it pans out, and there's a gruesome image of the two girls' bodies twisted up and broken and wrapped around each other in an impossible position, and both shoved together into the glass display case under the countertop. So that's how he found his
What?
sisters after that recording happened.
Oh, that's traumatic. That poor man.
Mhm.
It's
Oh,
horrible.
It
wow.
was horrible, yeah.
And how old were these girls?
Did they say? I
Probably
mean,
like
they
Were they, like,
12-ish. They
I
look
would've
like
said
12 or
11.
13.
like
Like
preteen?
preteen,
Okay.
yeah.
Preteen. I would
Got
said
it.
11 or 12, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't know that
wow.
they officially say, yeah.
Mm.
We go over to Edmund again in his apartment, and he's watching an interview of Charles Manson from prison. And he seems to be taking mental notes on Charles' mannerisms and the way he speaks and mimicking little quirks of his to, I guess, prep for his serial killer role that he believes he's getting. So I don't know if Kristen or Allison, if you picked up on this, I found this very interesting that he chose to study Charles Manson. I was trying to think, I'm like, well, I wonder what kind of like angle he's going to go with this role, because if you're looking for like a crazy cult leader weirdo, sure, Manson's a great blueprint, but based on what we see him do later, I feel like he's trying to go for like a slasher type killer, in
Yeah,
which
they're
case
not connected. I agree.
why study the
Yeah.
one killer that technically didn't kill anyone by their own
Right.
Yeah.
hands? It's
He needed a
interesting.
better curriculum for sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
he's just trying to, like, really cover all
Embody
angles.
the psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's what he was going. It just seems like the character he comes up with is nothing like that. It was just
No,
very
not at
interesting.
all.
Yeah. So as Edmund is sitting there intensely watching and studying Manson on TV, the camera pulls back and we see that in his hand he has a butcher knife and he is absentmindedly and slowly cutting his leg back and forth, like right on his thigh. And he doesn't realize he's doing it until he looks down, and he's kind of shocked at seeing like this big like gash in his leg now and seeing what he's done. And then he has this slow, evil smile that comes over his face, and then he just continues to cut himself.
Oh.
And you see a tear drop from his eye, and he shudders, but it looks more like he enjoys it. Like some part of it feels good.
There's a
Yeah.
pleasure.
I'm still
Mhm.
really conflicted on whether I think that he's, like, he knows what he's doing or not when
I
he's
know.
doing these things, but
I think you're
And the
supposed to
acting is
be.
phenomenal, and it does, I think, make like while you're watching it, you're questioning the same thing. 'Cause
Mhm.
Yeah.
because it's like, is he smiling because he's enjoying it, or is it, like, whatever is in him is enjoying it, and he's in there, like, you know what I mean?
Or is
I
it
don't know.
some sort of like split personality thing he's going through?
Right,
Like,
maybe
yeah, what's
that.
happening?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Spooky.
So now we go to Dawn's home real quick, and we are with her son in his room, and he has his female friend over, and she's teasing him about how clean and tidy he is. And he asks her if she's ever felt like something bad is going to happen. If you don't act a certain way or do certain things, the people you love could die. So he's trying to explain his OCD with cleanliness that he has, and she's not really getting it. But he's trying his best to describe, and I don't think he realizes that that's what he has. He's just trying to explain why everything has to be in a certain order.
Yeah, for sure.
We go back to the present with Dawn, and she is catching Diaz up again on what she's learned from the case of the two Korean girls. And they are trying to make connections with the cases because the MOs are the same. So it's obviously the same killer, but what's the connection with the victims? They start to brainstorm what kind of killer could cross racial boundaries with the victims and areas like that and not be noticed. And Dawn thinks it's a possibility that it could be a cop with a no forced entry at all. So there's little hints that somebody who could easily assimilate or be welcome into community, or someone you would open your door for, that, so they come up with the idea it could be a cop. Don is still at work, working late at night, when McKinney comes in, and he's a little buzzed, and he, for some reason, wants to chat with Don and pretend like they're friends or like they could be friends. And Don wants no parts of this. McKinney makes a joke about Don being an affirmative action hire, and the joke doesn't land, of course. And then he apologizes for being hard on her and messing with her and with all the pranks. And when she stays silent and doesn't want to accept his apology, he tells her, "You don't have to be such a cunt about it."
Jesus.
Yeah. And then he makes a comment about her never being home with her son, and then calls her crazy and leaves. Like, he's just throwing everything at the window, I think he's just trying to get a reaction out of her, and she's just not giving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like every single thing that was happening, they were never pranks, they were intimidation tactics, and then
Mhm.
they're playing them off like they're jokes. Like, I've
Right.
had people in my life that I know who do that, where so making someone feel bad or terrified is what gets your rocks off, like, that's not
Mhm.
cool, or it's messed up,
Mhm.
and they're
It's
all doing
weird.
it to her, so and it was after she leaked that thing to the press, so I feel like they're trying to not overtly intimidate her, but they're doing it by these other means to try to make her leave or intimidate her or scare her.
Or
So,
let her know that
Mhm.
they know it was her.
yeah,
Yeah. But I think this whole, like, weird ass apology, I don't know if it was, like, to try and lure her in so they could do something worse. Like, maybe if she
probably.
thinks we're all cool with her now, she'll stop, but that we can keep doing this stuff. I don't know what that was. It was very weird.
Mm.
But as soon as he leaves, Dawn starts to have that chest pain feeling again, and so she takes herself to the hospital. She goes there, the doctors run some tests, and they tell her that everything came back normal, and it could be anything from hypertension to anxiety. And she does tell them that her dad had heart problems, so I think that's why she was worried. So they give her some pills just as a precaution, but they said, really, nothing's wrong with you. The next day at Kelvin's school, that's Don's son, after band practice, he looks up in the stands and he sees his dad there. And he is happy to see his dad. His dad is a traveling musician. And so he goes up in the stands and they have a nice little chat. His dad can't stay long because he has to head down to San Diego for a gig. After that, Kelvin walks home when the police car stops him and pulls him over. And out of the car walks McKinney.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And McKinney starts asking Kelvin where he's coming from and where he's going and makes Kelvin hand over his book bag so that he can search it. And so Kelvin asks, did I do something wrong? And he didn't. So McKinney has no real answer for him. He's just being a dick for no reason. And he just says, are you going to give me a hard time? So he hands over the backpack and McKinney starts searching through it. And he does find a joint and some rolling papers in there. McKinney takes it and pockets it and gives Kelvin the bag back and then opens the back door to the police car and makes Kelvin get in. McKinney's dick move, however, ends up being just to intimidate Kelvin and indirectly continue to intimidate Dawn and flex some sort of power over her because he just ends up driving Kelvin home and tells Kelvin to tell his mom he said hi. So Kelvin hurries out of the car and runs into into the house, and he's in his room where he has to turn the lights on and off so many times and make sure everything's straight on his desk and in perfect order. And then he smokes some weed to calm down. Over at the casting office, Edmund is really on one today, and I love this scene. So over at the casting office, Edmund has arrived in a full-on madman serial killer costume that he has come up with, like nothing you've ever seen before. He has on a mesh see-through tank top and
Okay.
under some denim
I love
overalls.
that you're gonna describe the
I'm
whole
describe
outfit. I'm sorry.
everything,
Go
yes.
ahead. Yeah.
Because it's so wild.
It sounds very 90s so far.
Mhm. Yeah, so he has denim overalls on top of it. He's got the pantyhose, of course, his signature, the pantyhose over his face
Mhm.
again. And he's got some red and black makeup on top of the pantyhose. And then these super long yellow rubber cleaning gloves, those bright
Mm.
yellow ones. And then they're tapered at the top, which I have not seen those gloves. I'm like, oh, those.
They're tapered.
Yeah, so like they stay on your biceps. I'm sorry, on your
Oh.
triceps. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they're not all like loose and hanging off. I
Right,
get it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he has on these huge, extra high platform boots. I don't even know where you find these, but they were huge. And he is like, it's just a very extreme version of like a madman that I'm almost certain was not the description of the character that the casting asked for
No,
when they in the role.
this was
This is
his
his,
creation.
yes. Because to me,
No,
what
it
he looks
is.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, he looks like Terrifier, but if Terrifier decided to retire from being a clown and open a cleaning business, like the white makeup is off, but all the rest of the makeup is still on. Like that's what his face looked like.
Art the Clown.
Mhm.
Yeah,
He's been
yeah,
working all day and he's exhausted and sweated off half
yeah,
his makeup. Yeah.
yeah. Art the clown is just like I can't clown anymore, but I'm great at cleaning, and he's
Right.
just decided
And
to
I
take this
look good
on.
in some platform boots.
Exactly.
And yeah, and his whole look is juxtaposed by the fact that you see the other guys that are
Yeah.
auditioning and they all look the same and not at all
Yeah.
like what he's
But
dressed
his
as. So
mind is
he
always like he's gonna stand out in his own way,
Mhm.
Right,
like
but
against
Mhm.
the other
but
guys.
But you see what I mean? I was like, you studied Manson and you came up with this? Like, this is, he didn't do
Right.
any of this. But anyway, so he's, yeah, like Kristen said, he walks into the building and he gets a few looks from people in the lobby, but not enough to be alarmed because it is Hollywood, it's acting. Sometimes people will come into an audition way over costumed and just doing
Mhm.
too much. So people
Mhm.
are like, it's weird, but nobody thinks it's that weird. So then Rhonda rounds the corner and she sees Edmund dressed like that. Edmund does not notice her, thank goodness. So before before he notices or can see her, she just turns and runs and takes off down the hall back into the casting room.
Good.
So Edmund heads down the hall and he's going through this line of other people who are auditioning. And like Kristen said, they're all going for the same role, but all these other people auditioning have decided to do the more typical, understated, everyday, drably dressed man version of a serial killer. So like a BTK, Bundy, Gacy, which is probably what the role actually said, that they said probably like this. Everybody just did a button-down shirt and some pants. Someone you wouldn't expect or you wouldn't, suspect.
Yeah, if I saw a man with pantyhose over his face and platform boots and rubber
You'd be
gloves, that'd
running.
be exactly what
Yeah.
I would expect.
With smeared makeup everywhere. You're like, oh, this
Yeah.
is a killer. Right. And
Right.
that's why I'm certain the role said everyday guy. So so anyway, the casting director guy comes out and he calls Edmund's name, but his back is to Edmund at the time he's calling for him to come in. When he turns around, he sees Edmund standing there and the man says, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. So Edmund's like, leave? But I just got here. And he's not doing a creepy voice or anything. This is like Edmund. He's like, but I'm ready. I'm ready for this role. And he gets pissed off. So he picks up the little casting director man and like slams him against the wall. And then Edmund bursts through the door into the audition room. And immediately the casting director tells him, no, Edmund, you're not reading for this role. You need to leave. And Edmund is shocked and starts stammering and pleading, saying, but this is my day. This is my role. And he looks over and he sees Donovan behind the camera again. And behind Donovan is Rhonda, kind of standing in the corner a little bit. And Edmund can't understand what's happening. So he tells Rhonda, but you said I'd be good. And he tries to walk towards her, but Donovan puts himself in between the two of them. And Edmund pushes Donovan down and out of the way and keeps trying to get an explanation out of Rhonda. And then the other girl in the room just picks up the phone and says, I'm calling the police. So she starts calling the police. And Edmund is in Rhonda's face and he tears off the pantyhose and screams at her, you said I'd be good. So he's just going off. Like, this was
giving,
his
like,
day.
that scene from, is it Pearl with Mia Goth? And she's like yelling and she's like, I can't remember, but I've seen the scene a lot and she's just yelling.
When she's
like,
on the
saying,
stage, yeah.
Where she's like, I'm a star.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like he's so convinced that this was his role, despite the fact that didn't read any of the descriptions they asked for, didn't follow any of the rules.
Yeah, he's
But
like created his own role.
Me. Yeah. And in his head, he has this role. So he's traumatized by this. He can't understand what's happening. So he just honestly throws a tantrum and leaves the building. Over at Dawn's house, she has found Kelvin's weed and takes him to dinner and confronts him about it and asks what's going on in his life. And he tells her he gets overwhelmed sometimes and he needs to relax. He then tells her about the incident he had earlier with the cop. Then we see a quick cut to Dawn driving home like a mad woman. She is pissed. She knows exactly what's going on. Kelvin didn't get a name or badge number out of the cop, but he had described him as the Ronald McDonald looking motherfucker, so she knows exactly who it is. Yeah. And she is just in a rage by the time they get back home. And her mother has found her pills that the doctor prescribed her for the hypertension, just as a precaution. And she's trying to ask her about the pills, and Dawn's like, now's not the time. It's nighttime still, and we cut over and we see Edmund in his car listening to his motivational tapes again while sitting in the parking lot of that casting office watching the door again. And he sees Rhonda and Donovan walk out together. And there's a quick jump back to a scene mirroring what Edmund is doing, but it's Dawn, and she's sitting in her car outside of McKinney's house watching him. And they both kind of have a similar look on their face. They're just staring at the people that they want to get. She lights up one of her son's joints and she just stares at this house while she has memory of quick flashes of McKinney just being an awful person, especially when it comes to black men. And so that's kind of how the episode ends. You see the two of them having very similar rage moments on the people that, and they're kind of semi-stalking at this point, just sitting outside of their house, just staring at them, watching their enemies.
I like that every character she's played in these shows, she's like such a badass. Like she doesn't
really
back
is.
down and she sticks up for her family and stuff. I like that about
And
her.
she's such a good act. Like the acting in this show, I think is phenomenal. I
It's real
really,
good.
really do. I don't think it got enough attention for the acting because the acting is just great.
It really is, yeah. And like Kristen always mentions, Edmund is great. I mean, he's just so creepy and
humble.
intense,
Yeah.
and
And
just
Then he
like,
makes you feel bad for him too at the same, and that's hard to do,
Yeah.
like, just
Well, I
good.
told you guys that I did start the first episode because it sounded so good after we talked about it. And so I minimized my screen. I put it really tiny in the corner. I moved my phone away from my face and I watched some of it. And I even saw the picture of Bernice Mott,
Bernice.
all twisted up under her
Yeah,
sink.
sorry I
Yep.
sent that.
It's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it is okay. But I have to admit, I did think about that face that night when I was sleeping because I was
Oh,
facing
I'm
my
sorry.
window and it
Right?
was open a little bit, and I was like, I just had to shake it out of my head for a second. But speaking about Edmund, though, the scene where he was dressed as the pig and he started dancing and he like went off script with the dancing. I loved the way they filmed it, and you could see him dancing and having fun, and then like the camera angle would switch to inside and you could see his perspective out, and he was just
Yeah.
like smiling in there and having a great time until the
Yeah.
manager came and ruined it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He yucked his yum for
He
sure.
did, he did,
Yeah.
but I think the manager mentioned something about, like, it could be a liability if he were to, like, hit one of the kids doing, like, a dance move or something along those lines, like so I mean, I guess I get it from a business perspective, but it was sad to see him having such a good time in there, and then, like, they immediately just, like, told him, "No, you can't do that." But I thought that was a pretty cute little scene, the way they filmed
Yeah.
it.
And I think
Well, just
it seems like that's kind of like what Edmund's issue is. Like he has this great actor in his head that he knows he can be and he wants to be and he's like very creative, but everyone just keeps just pissing in his Cheerios, man. Every time he
Right.
yeah.
wants to do something, the man's there to
Yeah.
put him down and won't let him
Or they
do
give
what he wants
him
to do.
too strict of, rules to follow, and he's
Mhm.
clearly not into following rules like
No, he
that.
wants to
He's
add an
clearly
extra seasoning to his
creative.
costume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he has that whole trunk full of stuff. He wants an
Mhm.
opportunity to use it? So, I
Exactly.
don't know. So Leah, what you just said actually
Mhm.
created an epiphany in my mind
Oh.
and how we were just recently talking about how I just don't really these movies. I don't lay in bed and
Mhm.
get scared. You said I pictured, and I have that aphantasia, and so I can't picture things in my mind, and I wonder
Oh,
Really?
if that's
Hmm.
why I don't get scared. Like I can't think
maybe.
of the images, and so yeah, like seriously, that just
Oh,
Well,
it was
that
like a light bulb went off. So thank you for that.
that's
oh,
Oh,
a
that's
blessing probably then, because
it
I can't
is.
not
Maybe. Yeah.
picture things.
I can't not picture
Yeah.
it
things. Yeah.
is. It's like, I
See,
mean, I know
yeah.
she's not gonna pop up in my window, clearly. I'm an adult. I know that that's not gonna happen. But just I sometimes I'll have that little moment where I'm like, what if I turned and she was looking at me through the window? And I'm
Oh,
picturing in
okay.
my head, like, what I saw
Mm-mm.
earlier and just I don't know, just being in the dark, and it all together was like I have almost a panic moment where I'm like, what if this is gonna happen? Like, have you ever walked down a dark hallway and nobody's there, but you feel almost like that feeling of being chased?
Oh yeah.
It's
Mhm.
Yeah,
kinda like
that for sure.
that, but it's just, like, in my mind, sort of. I don't know.
No.
I mean, I know it's not
No.
real. I know it's
I'm
all
lucky
fake. I
then to
know
have
it's
that
makeup.
blackness in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might be a good thing because I freak
Maybe.
myself out all the time. All the time.
Yeah. Well, that was a great I love that episode, and you did such a good job
Yeah, that's a
explaining it,
fun
Kelly,
episode.
because describing his
Thanks.
outfit was key, and I probably would not have done nearly as good a job trying to do that. So, did he have one buckle
I
undone
love the
like
mesh
90s
top.
style? I can't remember.
No, I think both
No.
were
Okay.
covered. Yeah.
Both were buckled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think I had to like pause or rewind to see that the tank top was mesh because at first I couldn't see what it was. I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
that's yeah, okay."
I like that he's trying
Like
to make the
the
pantyhose over the head, like, his signature thing.
It
Oh, it's
is.
his yeah, it's definitely
It
his
is his
thing, for sure, and
signature.
the makeup on
That's his
top of it,
go-to look.
his
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
yeah.
it's good. The shirt like Leah Dunham's on that episode of Girls where she trades shirts with
I knew
the
that's what you were
mesh
gonna
shirt
ask.
guy.
Yeah, but like a bigger holes. I think it was like a blue mesh, so the triangles were even bigger than the one
I need to go back
Leah
and
Dunham
look because
had
I don't
because hers was
remember
I
the
think was
shirt.
like a yellow.
I thought he was nude underneath it, so okay, good deal. See, I can't
Yeah,
picture
no,
it, so
he's
I need
nude
to go back
under
and
the
look.
little holes. Yeah.
It's
Well, I
hard
mean,
to see a mesh top and not think of that episode of
yeah,
Girls.
I know.
that was a great episode. Yeah.
Did you watch that, Allison? Did you ever watch Girls?
Yeah, I did. It was a long time
Mm.
Oh,
ago
okay.
though, so I don't remember like every little
Yeah.
thing. But
See, that was
I
another
Yeah, no.
actually started it to rewatch it again because I wanted to, but I only
Yeah, I
made it through
rewatched it
like half
recently,
of
it still
season
holds
one.
up. Oh, you didn't? Oh,
Yeah?
no.
Hmm.
Okay. You don't
No,
like
no,
it
no.
That was
enough?
I
another
just
one
because
that
other shows got in the way, so I didn't get to keep going.
Okay, yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine. Alright.
but I
Yeah,
do
I
want to
think it still
continue
holds up.
it.
Okay.
That was another series for me that I didn't care for the last season, but it's okay.
I
I
enjoyed
liked it
it.
up until
Yeah,
that point.
I got you. A lot of people
Yeah,
say
I
that. That's
liked
when I
it.
actually did enjoy the last season, so
Yeah.
alright, well,
Well,
sorry.
all right. Well, that's okay. That is it for
Oh,
episode 3 of them, and we'll be back next week where Kristen will cover episode 4. Thanks,
Awesome.
guys.
All right. Bye.
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 For more information about our episodes, follow us on Instagram at Fear and Wine Pod. And if you have a fun discussion question that you'd like for us to answer on the podcast, send it to us at fearandwinepod@gmail.com.